Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. I'm Sam Lance, and I'm here with Jackson Bezdek as always. And I know we said we are going to do an In the Same Room podcast, but long story short, Jackson's roommate's dogs didn't exactly allow that to happen. But
Pit
Jackson,
Bulls.
yeah, them dang pit bulls. But Bez,
Ah,
thanks for having me in Ames. It was not the result that Kansas wanted, but I still had a good time hanging out and seeing you in person again.
Oh, totally did. It's so nice. It was so nice for me. I mean, I'm up here all alone, so and any chance I can see the boys is great. And we got some college basketball watching in. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah, Tuesday night was electric. Bez and I were cheering for DePaul like crazy. It was a crazy night watching all the college hoops ball. All right, with all that out of the way, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going over the Iowa State game, the loss there that happened on Wednesday, and then we have Kevin Young, Jayhawk legend Kevin Young, coming on the podcast. So here we go, episode 58 of The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast, coming right up next. All right, Bez. Kansas loses on the road to Iowa State, the number two team in the country, 74 to 57. Really, the final score isn't indicative of how close this game was, kind of all the way through. The Jayhawks, they played a poor first half, went in the locker room down 10 points because of Curtis Jones going off for 20 in that first half. But Kansas kind of showed some fight there in the second half. It was trimmed down to 3 points at the 14-minute mark at 44-41. But Iowa State just kind of had every answer in this game. After Kansas narrowed it to three, they went on a 13-4 run to get it back to a double-digit lead, and somehow Kansas ended up getting it back to 5 points with 5 minutes to play. But again, Iowa State just went on a killer run. It was a 17-4 run for the Cyclones. The Jayhawks really just didn't have enough offensive firepower in this game to hang with Iowa State. And they were even down a starter in Milan Momcilovic in this one. So, really, what didn't help the Jayhawks at all, I think Kevin Flaherty tweeted this. They were outscored 20-2 in the final 2 minutes of the first half and the final 3 minutes of the second half. Not great when you're trying to win on the road. Bez, what was just kind of your first reaction to this loss?
My first reaction, which is a little overreaction, was Darren Peterson. Check my watch. Darren Peterson time. No, not Darren Peterson time yet. So I got to watch this crap for the next 2 months, unfortunately. And it's just all the problems that we've been talking about for the past weeks. They're still glaring issues. And it's to the point now where I'm looking at the roster, looking at lineups, thinking about what Bill realistically will actually do. And I didn't, after that game, I didn't see a path to any type of March run. And it's been hard for me to get myself there just because, like, if people were saying that the game was closer than the final score indicated, which I do think is true, because that was a tight game for a long time. And that 20-2 stretch you talk about, Kansas lose by 17. They lost by 18 in those 5 minutes. So outside of those 5 minutes, Kansas was winning. But at the same time, I never thought that Kansas had any chance to win at any point in the game, no matter how close it was. I just have way more faith in Iowa State's roster than Kansas's roster.
I hate to say it, Bez, but my kind of first reaction is, man, Jeff Goodman was right.
Yeah,
Whenever he came on the podcast a few episodes back, I mean, he basically said, like he doesn't care about the UCF and the Arizona State and those games that happen because he still sees the issues. And whenever you play a great team like Iowa State, that's whenever those issues I think really start to show, and that's what happened in this game. Uh, I think I'm kind of with you as far as the tournament run because Kansas is going to play an Iowa State caliber team at some point during
right.
March, right? Like to get to the Final Four, you're going to have to play a team like Iowa State, who's really good, really solid on both ends of the floor. right now it's not really looking like Kansas can beat those types of teams, which is going to need to happen for Kansas to make a deep run. So, really, I've since then I've kind of taken a step back. I've kind of talked myself into, okay, Iowa State is really, really good. Kansas played with them for quite some time. I've kind of talked myself back into that. Hunter Dickinson was basically a nothing burger in this game, so. I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on the fence right now, but let's get into some takeaways from this game. The first thing to note is how poor the big three was in this game, and the big three being DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, and Hunter Dickinson. Those are Kansas's three returners. They made 7 baskets in 88 minutes, 18 total points, 7 of 21 from the field with 8 turnovers. Hunter Dickinson only had 6 points in this game. Was kind of in foul trouble there in the first half. Only finished with 6 points. It just can't happen, Bez. It just can't happen.
And that's why I feel the way I feel, that I don't think the issues will get fixed, is because three of the main issues are three guys that is the big three, right? And DeJuan's not necessarily an issue, but that was not his best game. And I came away with it like, shoot, man, Taman Lipsey, wouldn't hate having him on my team as a point guard, you know? And it's no slight to DeJuan, but he got outplayed by Taman. And I don't think he's worse than Taman.
I thought Shaq Moore outplayed DeJuan in this game, to be completely honest. Whenever Shaq Moore was playing point to start that second half, Kansas went on a little bit of a run with DeJuan Harris on the bench, and that's not something you would necessarily imagine coming in this game. But continue, Bez. Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
I mean, that's a great point because Shaq only plays 20 minutes. And what does he do? Push the pace. You're like, oh man, Kansas is kind of moving right now and getting good shots. Guys are getting open. But it's just I don't see a path. KJ plays the minutes we want him to play, around 24, I think. And it still seems like too much. And in that type of game, you want to make it kind of gross, especially the way Kansas is playing. Make it gross, make it ugly, make it low scoring, and Iowa State still scores 75 points. Like, and I never thought Iowa State was going to score less than 70. I told my buddies at work, like, they're all huge Iowa State fans. I'm like, it's a race to 70, and Iowa State's going to get there. And I don't think Kansas can get there even in the slightest with the lineups they're running. And then the Hunter thing is just, I mean, I've got some steamers about about this situation.
Do it.
Steaming take,
Lay him
man.
down.
Why is Flory not playing more minutes than him? And I know that's kind of a casual Twitter take, but holy cow, man, at some point, Hunter, you haven't got better in 5 years. You've actually got worse in 5 years. And your effort sucks. Your effort sucks. The Taman Lipsey three that I think was the dagger that pushed it from
That
six
was
to
the
nine
play of the
around 4 minutes left, completely on Hunter Dickinson. Just a rebound right in front of him that Kevin Young would have got, by the way, with two hands. And and then Diggy is just lost in the sauce out there. He needs 0 minutes. I'm done with the Diggy experiment. We need offense, sure, but dude, just pathetic effort from Hunter down the stretch. And Flory is freshman, young, doesn't know any better, gonna give you 100% regardless. And
I thought
I
Flory
think
played
Bill,
great. I thought Flory played great in
right,
that
man,
game.
I kind of agree with you. And like, you get K-State who's really struggling, and a guy like Coleman Hawkins who has a weird, dumb rivalry with Hunter for whatever reason. But this is a type game where you can like, Bill can be like, I'm gonna play all my energy guys, way more minutes than you guys. Send a message or something. I think you have to send a message at this point because if you don't, you're just you're accepting and you're allowing this lack of effort to happen. Like I'm not sure what the deal is with Hunter right now, and I never say I'm never going to question a guy's effort or competitiveness because we don't know them, and they play for Kansas, so it's easy to assume they're going to give it all. But I didn't see that from Hunter. I watched him that game, and I did not see 100% effort, which is ridiculous in Ames.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head here. The thing about it with Hunter, that especially in this game, like the game, I see the starting lineups. I'm like, wow, they're going with Chatfield. Hunter Dickinson should have 10. In my mind, it's like Hunter Dickinson should have 10 points at the under 16 timeout, and Kansas should be getting going. Like I am honestly in awe that Hunter Dickinson had 6 points in this game, 3 of 10. from the field. I know Bill Self after the game kind of said that they trap the post very well. Iowa State does, and they weren't really good at getting it to the second or third side, which would then allow to dump it off to Hunter Dickinson. And Iowa State kind of took him out of that. But man, like yeah, I saw Chatfield in the starting lineup, and I was like, Hunter's gonna go off this game, and it just didn't happen. Uh, it's disappointing. It is disappointing from Hunter Dickinson, and he's still up there in the Ken Palm, Evan Maya, all these Player of the Year ratings that he keeps reposting, and I just lately I haven't seen it. I have not seen it lately at all from Hunter Dickinson. Like I'm about to look at it. I'm pretty sure
Dude,
his
Ken Palm
numbers
needs to
are
fix the
down.
algorithm. He was number 3 the other day. Like, okay, if Hunter Dickinson's your number 3 player of the year, your numbers might be a little off. I'm just gonna point that out. Just want to put it out there.
His numbers are down from last year. 17.9 points per game, 10.9 rebounds per game last year. He's at 15.2, 10.4 this year. The 3-point percentage has dipped. The field goal or the free throw percentage is up. That is one positive. Free throws
I
are
bet
up,
the
but his
shots are way
field goal
down.
percentage is down 3.3 points. So Hunter Dickinson needs to be a dominant guy. He needs to figure it out. And Bill Self said during his press conference today, that is something that he wants to see for this offense to get better. It's going to have to be Hunter Dickinson playing like he's 7'2" because
Right.
he hasn't been playing like he's 7'2" lately.
And like, think about if you take out that UCF game, which was basically fake, how much lower those numbers would be. Like, and we say he's still averaging a double double, but everybody's complaint with Hunter is that they're empty. They're empty numbers, right? You don't notice it, you don't feel it, it doesn't impact the game. Instead of, maybe he gets 8 rebounds and Zeke gets a couple more, KJ gets a couple more, he just gets those couple more. Oh, I got a double double, blah, blah, blah. Dude, like it doesn't matter. It does not matter if nobody on the floor, like it doesn't. I feel like his shot attempts are down too. And I feel like just the general confidence of let's get it to Hunter and let him cook isn't what it was last year. And maybe that's a good thing because it wasn't great last year. But man, it's just I'm losing faith in it. I'm losing faith in it. And it's to the point where, people on Twitter are calling it the biggest mistake Bill Self has ever made in his career is bringing Hunter to the
That's the
team.
Fanta take right there.
That is literally the Fanta take in it. And until Fanta said it, I was like, all right, that's kind of absurd. But then Fanta says it, and I'm like, I mean, he's really watching these games, just like you and I are. Maybe I need to like open my eyes to that a little bit. I don't think it's like I would have to look at some of the Bill Self mistakes to see my official ranking on that list, but it's up there. It's up there. And you got a guy like Flory, who, like, I don't know if he's an NBA player, but he's an NBA athlete and NBA scouts are very intrigued by him. And you know who else is intrigued by him? Other big programs with a lot of NIL who are like, oh, Flory, Kansas was disrespecting you this year, man. You should be playing 35 minutes a game. You can't, you can't do that. Like, he's the top 10 player in his class. Like, give him a chance. Start Flory. Start him. Not saying bring Hunter off the bench. Maybe bring KJ off the bench. Start Flory. Flory needs more minutes, and Hunter needs less minutes.
All right, we got to talk about KJ Adams as well. In this game, he ended up separating his shoulder. He's been now listed as week to week. Self said that they're going to reevaluate him at the beginning of next week. He will not play against Kansas State. I tweeted out during this game that every single run seemed to take place with KJ Adams on the bench, and that tweet went absolutely off. And I actually, because of that, went into it a little bit. All right. So KJ went out in the first half at the 14-minute mark. He came back with 11:46. Kansas outscored Iowa State 4-3 in that stretch. Besides that, every single stretch that KJ was on the bench, Iowa State outscored Kansas. He went out 3:15 in the first half, and Kansas went. It was 8-6 Iowa State advantage. I will say in that stretch with KJ on the bench, Zeke Mayo hit a three, Rylan Griffin hit a three. There was some floor spacing there, and
Oh,
in that stretch was also Curtis Jones just
a ton.
absolutely lighting it up with those two threes. So and really, a couple of those threes that Curtis Jones takes, I think you take that shot from pretty much everybody else in the country. But Curtis was just on one that night, so I think that stretch was actually kind of positive. Uh, The other stretch, 15:46 second half, he was taken out and he was back in at 12:22. It was a 6-4 Iowa State advantage in that one. And then to close the game, KJ Adams was out at 7:08 in the second half and did not come back. It was a 17-12 Iowa State advantage in that stretch, but KU, like right whenever KJ was taken out, had that 7-0 run to cut it to 5, and then it just turned absolutely sideways from there. The totality with KJ uh, off the floor, it was 34 to 26 with KJ off the floor. Iowa State eight point advantage, and KJ on the floor was -9 for the game. So really, it was -8 versus -9. Not a huge difference, and I really just don't know what to make of it, Bez. But maybe, maybe just maybe, KJ being out for this Kansas State game and maybe another game after that, who really knows, could be a blessing in disguise to get some of these guys some run, like AJ Storr, like Ronald Griffin.
It's at least interesting, right? It at least will force Bill to fluctuate the
Play four
lineup.
round one. Like he's gonna be forced to because you
Crazy
can't.
concept of spacing. Like,
I don't think they're gonna. You only if you only have two bigs because Clemens is hurt as well. Like Flory's gonna have to come off the bench, right? You can't not have a
yeah,
big.
yeah, you're probably right. Like, you probably throw AJ in the starting lineup just to one last ditch effort as to see what you have here. And he also, I didn't think was good on Wednesday night, but it'll at least be interesting. Maybe everyone will get the lineup we want, which is DeJuan, Zeke, AJ, Rylan, and then I think Flory should be the 5. I'm just done with Hunter, man. I'm just his and it's partially the way he carries himself off the floor, and everybody knows what I mean by that. You know what I mean by that. Us living in Lawrence with Hunter Dickinson, we definitely know about, he loves the bar. He loves the Hawk. And dude, you're 23 and you're getting paid $1 million to play basketball. So maybe you should love the Hawk a little less. But it'll at least be interesting to see where Bill goes and what he does with his rotations and certain lineups, because I mean KJ's his baby and KJ's never, I don't think he's ever missed a game for injury, right? I mean,
I don't think
I
so.
can't even think of it. The only games he's missed were back. I think I saw something that the Providence game in the championship run was the last time he didn't play, and
Yep.
has recorded at least a minute in every single game since. So, I mean, breath of fresh air. You hit it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great, honestly, for Kansas to figure some things out. Obviously not rooting for KJ to miss
Of
time,
course.
but I
Right,
do
right.
think it is going to be a blessing in disguise for Kansas. Uh, really, the substitutions in this Iowa State game, that was kind of another point that I wanted to make, were all sort of out of whack. And, you thought that the rotation was kind of starting to fall into place because we've kind of seen some consistency in the 3 games leading up to Iowa State. And then it all just kind of exploded in this Iowa State game. So I think having KJ out, it's going to give Self some more time to figure out who exactly he wants to be in the rotation, how that'll go. And then who knows? If Kansas just is lights out without KJ Adams, maybe you'll play less. Maybe. Maybe just maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
I would love to see Rylan get 10 plus shots in this game, and I know you would too. Like,
I
let's
still can't believe he did not sub in until the 10-minute mark of the second half, and Self went with Diggy Coit before him. It's a little confusing.
no words for that one. It's just dumb. That's just not a smart decision by Bill there. And he knows better than that. And I would be shocked if we ever see that again this season.
I would be too. All right, this is kind of my last takeaway from the Iowa State game. Devon Dotson tweeted out. I got to find the exact tweet here, but basically he tweeted out that Kansas doesn't really have like an offensive playmaker, right? Like, yeah, he says we need an end of game playmaker, man, with 3 exclamation marks. 3 exclamation marks on that one. And I agree. I think that is one thing that Kansas is just kind of without, is that true offensive playmaker, that true bucket getter. DeJuan, he's not doing that. Zeke Mayo, I think, is the closest thing to it, but can you really just say, hey, Zeke, here's the ball, go score.
Two. Yeah.
Like, not really. Like
No.
AJ Store was supposed to be that. You can't get
Hmm.
on the floor. So
Hmm.
I don't know. It's concerning. Like if you think about Kansas's good teams, Ochai was kind of a guy that could do that. Remy what was kind of that late game closer in March Madness. I mean, those two threes in the North Carolina game were absolutely incredible. And those I will never forget him hitting that, corner three, and then I forget the guy's name. I'm actually kind of pissed
Bill
on.
Raftery.
Yeah, saying a
Little
little
Remy
Remy in
late
the
in the
evening.
evening.
A little Remy in the evening. Like I will
No
never
better than
forget
a little
that.
Remy late in the evening.
Even Jalen Wilson, like his senior year, Kansas had guys like that. This team doesn't. This team,
Devon Dotson. He was a guy
yeah,
like that. The
Devon
guy
Johnson.
played here.
Yeah, there you
Like,
go.
and no COVID, that team wins a natty, and Devon is the main reason of that. And then his predecessor was Devontae, and Devontae's predecessor was Frank, and then before Frank, it was Wiggins. And you can just go down the line about dudes, and the teams that we skip over. I'm afraid this season is going to be one of those. It's just like last season. There's no, there was no positive to come at it. Like even this team that lost a streak, Devon's freshman year, he still had Diedrich, who was not a superstar, but was going to get you 18 and 10 and be a factor down the stretch of those games. The rest of the team just wasn't good enough. But like he's right. He's right. And it's not Zeke. It's not AJ. You know who it is? He's at prolific prep right now. He's still it's that guy. Darren, when does he go to campus? Is he there soon? Is he coming next week? No?
It's going to be next year, Bez.
Next
It's gonna
year?
be next year.
Dang. Oh, that's too bad.
All right, are we really panicking, Bez? Are we really back to panic mode? Because I'm not gonna lie, after the 3 game winning streak, I was kind
Man,
of like,
you were back up. You were back up.
I was
And
like,
I don't think you can say panic time again after losing to the best team in the country, maybe on the road in a tough place to play that they haven't lost in 3 years. So deep breath. I think it's less panic and more, all right, Bill, you see it, what we see, and it's on you. So what are you going to do about it?
yeah, this is what I wanted to close with, Bez. Self made some comments about Curtis Jones after this game. Basically, to sum up the quote, I don't have it in front of me, but he was basically like, this dude plays free, right? Like this dude plays, and even Curtis Jones in the post game press conference was like, I don't even know. Like I ain't got nothing on my mind. Like I'm just playing, Like can't nobody on Kansas is playing like that. Like there's not a single person who is playing with a free mind, free spirit right now. And I think Kansas is in trouble if they can't find that. If they can't find any sort of resemblance of that, of what kind of Curtis Jones had in this game, like all the good teams out there, like have somebody like that. And Iowa State, I hate to say it, they have like 3 or 4 people
No, totally,
like
man.
that. Duke has Cooper Flag, Con Knipple. I think you could probably put in that category. They just go out there and play. Kansas doesn't have.
Auburn, full team, man.
Yeah.
Auburn's full team is
Auburn, you watch Auburn, and every single player out there looks like they are having the most fun they've had in their
right,
entire lives.
right.
Like that, it's just not the same with Kansas, and I think Kansas needs to do some soul searching, kind of figure that out for this team to take the next step.
Yep, I agree. And I think, down the line, Bill eventually hangs it up and Kansas hires TJ Otzelberger to come to Lawrence. I think maybe that'll come back, but I mean, Devonte Graham seems
You
like
just started a war with the Iowa State fans, just so you know.
good. Bring it on. I'll give you guys my address. You can come pull up. We can talk some ball. But I Devonte Graham wasn't 20 years ago. It sucks that it feels like it was that long ago because I truly think that was the last guy that was like that. Even though we've had incredible players since, that wasn't Ochai's game wasn't let that baby fly, like
I
that's not
think
really
Jalen, I think Jalen was like that.
yeah, but that was more circumstantial of like who else was going to do it. And he absolutely had the capability to do it. McCullough wasn't what he was the next year. Like the year after that, McCullough kind of turned into that guy, but that's all circumstantial. And Devontae's team was loaded and he still was playing like that. And the fun part of it, who had more fun playing basketball than Devontae Graham? Nobody, man.
No
Maybe
way.
Curtis Jones on Wednesday. But other than that, like, you're right. You're right. Kansas needs it.
All right, y'all. That's all we have to kind of recap Iowa State. Coming up next, we got Kevin Young joining the show, and we actually just recorded that before we recorded this. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. We got some great stories from Kevin in that. So enjoy, y'all. Kevin Young, baby. I'm excited. Enjoy, everybody.
There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hum, a Kansas City podcast. Today, we have personally my favorite guest we've ever had, Kansas basketball legend in his time at Kansas, 63-13 record, two-time Big 12 regular season champion, went to the national championship game in 2012, and in my opinion, the best energy guy to ever play for Bill Self. Kevin Young, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys.
This is amazing. This is so great. Let's just jump right in. Let's get your thoughts this season. Kansas basketball coming off a tough loss to Iowa State, who is one of the best teams in the country. Kind of a rocky road so far for Kansas this year. What have you seen as someone who was in that locker room for multiple years? What's going on with the team right now?
It's a learning process. They got a lot of young guys, as well as new guys to the team, to Kansas basketball. You know, we got a lot of transfers coming in. And as a transfer myself, it takes time, man. It takes time to get accustomed to that system, to get accustomed to playing with a target on your back every night, you know. And I know Coach Self's going to get these guys right and get them set on the right track here pretty soon.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to ask you about that. You know, the new era, a lot of transfers are coming in. They're coming from these power programs and they're playing right away nowadays. So, why do you think it's just kind of taking a little time for these guys to get comfortable with Bill Self?
Um, I mean, as a transfer student, you think you coming in, you're going to be able to do all these great things or do the same thing you did at the last program. And Kansas is a little different, man. I mean, they hold you to a higher standard, and not only that, but like the pressure is crazy. You're playing in front of 16,300 every night, just about, and everybody knows that you're the best team out there, whether you got a 1 by the ranking or a 10. You know, it doesn't matter what the number is. It's an honor to play against Kansas and for Kansas, and that pressure can get to guys sometimes.
All right, I'm just going to come out and ask the question, Kevin. Do you think this Kansas team has what it takes to win it all? Why or why not?
I think they do. I think they got a big chance. You know, with Hunter being one of the best centers in the league, in all of college basketball. You know, right now, and like I said, it just takes time to mold this team into what they can be. You know, guys accepting roles and playing to their best abilities. But I definitely do think we got a good chance as a guy going and practicing with those guys the last couple of days and being able to see what they can really do.
All right, Kevin. As you said, transfer from Loyola Marymount. You played 2 seasons at Kansas, both pretty memorable in my opinion, both a part of the
Thank you.
streak. 11-12 was, I mean, unforgettable. Made it to the championship game, obviously. Lose to an unbelievable Kentucky team with Anthony Davis on it. Also has the Thomas Robinson block to send that game to overtime against Mizzou. 2012, 2013, you started every single game that season but 4. So, in your opinion, if you had to pick one favorite team that you were on out of the 2, which one would you go with?
Oh man, that's a tough one, you know, because I mean those are 2 really good teams, and I think just for our run with Thomas and it being my first year, I think that's the team that I hold a little bit higher than the other one. Just because getting here as a transfer student, you know, one of the first things that I got to do was actually play with the team and pick up like right when I landed from the plane. Like got right off the plane, went right to the practice gym, and as I get on the court, it wasn't like, hey, we're gonna pick teams, we're gonna play real quick. It was Tyshawn and Thomas like showing what leadership really is, and those guys pulling me to the side with a couple walk-ons and a couple freshmen, and like, hey, this is our offense. This is the offense we're gonna run. So we're gonna run this offense in pickup, and we're gonna run it all the time. So you better get used to it and learn it now. And this isn't even with the coaches in the gym. This is just players. So to have great leaders like that on that team and just show you the difference between going to a Loyola Marymount or a mid-major school compared to going to Kansas. I mean, those are unbelievable memories that most guys will never get to see or recreate, you know?
But what do you remember about that national championship game?
Oh, a lot, man. We ran out of time, I think. We were coming back and we just, we ran out of time. Uh, there's a lot, man. Watching the confetti fall down on the court after we lose the game, making a run to come back in it late. There's a whole bunch.
All right. We have a little bit of a KU Discord, and I asked them, I told them you're coming on the podcast and asked them to throw me some questions. The one I wanted to ask from that, they wanted to know about the three-game losing streak in 2013 and kind of how Self's approach, changed that to get that season kind of back on track there after that losing streak.
Yeah, that was tough. First game, Marcus Smart does a backflip on the court. That hurt all of us.
Oh yeah, man.
And then going to TCU and being
Oh.
compared to the worst Kansas team of all time, worse than the team that got beat by Topeka YMCA. And then going to Oklahoma in a tough environment and trying to win there is pretty tough. Some memories from that, man. A lot of film sessions, just going back and forth, like after games, coming back from road trips and going straight to the film room for 2-3 hours, trying to correct the mistakes that we made and trying to understand why we made them, and just, constantly trying to get better. And obviously putting out the Harlem Shake video. I think we were like the first basketball team to actually do that right after. But we did that at the end of our 3-game losing streak, lose 3 games, and then put an internet video up just to, let people know that we're still Kansas, we're still having fun with it. And then coming out to play K-State at home, which for me was kind of a big game.
Yeah, man, murdered him.
Yeah, I had a couple family members. The first time we played them at K-State, Shane Southwell said in the press conference that I was just some random dude. Like I couldn't let him get the ball. Like I mean, he got the rebound. Like, come on, it's just Kevin Young. And I had family members send me that article every day almost leading up to that game, and so I took it kind of personal, and I played a little bit harder than I usually do, but I always play hard, so it's hard to tell. But yeah, we definitely came back and just with Coach, back to the question, what Coach did to like change the atmosphere and get us back on track. I mean, he let us know that we can still play free, that just because we lost games, you don't have to count us out, and I think that kind of showed when we played K-State.
Do you think this team kind of got a similar message after, obviously losing to West Virginia? Not the greatest December for this team. Do you think Self kind of gave them the same sort of message?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, every team's different, and I think these guys know what they got to do to get back on track. This last game was pretty tough, but at the same time, Iowa State's a really good team, and going in there, it's tough to beat a team at home when all the pressure's on you. So you got to tip your hats to those guys.
All right, you were part of the 14 straight conference title streak. I'll just ask you, do you think that record will ever be broken across college basketball?
Now with all the transfer students and all that stuff, I think it's going to be a lot harder. And I mean, it was amazing. It was an amazing feat that coach did, taking different teams and continuing the streak, which was really amazing. I played against Gonzaga during their 10, I think it was like 10 win streak for their conference. So I know how tough it is to try to beat a team, with all that momentum and stuff. So
Kevin, real quick, I just got to ask this. Do you hate Trey Burke as much as I do for what he did to
uh,
us in 2013, man? I mean, unreal.
I I got locked out of my Twitter account a while back. I had like an old email that they discontinued. So, and that's like one of the best things that's ever happened to me because every March, somebody tags me in that clip
Mm,
every year, and oh man, I hate it so much.
hate it, man.
It's
Hate it.
Can
like,
I be honest, Kevin? I grew up a
yeah,
Michigan fan. I was
oh my
I was
God,
Kevin,
cheering
Kev, Kev,
for Trey
bro.
Burke whenever he hit that shot. I hate to say it. I hate to say it. I
yeah,
wish I could go back in time, but
yeah, me
can't.
too. I would have fouled him way before. No,
That's
but I mean,
right.
it was a great shot. I mean, I played almost perfect defense. It was a
Yeah,
great contest, and
totally.
he shot it way back. So I mean, yeah.
That was ridiculous. Yeah. Maybe get your boy Elijah to make that free throw, and we're not talking about it, you know?
Oh, not just him. I think I missed a free throw down the stretch too. I mean, all the things that went bad could go
Oh,
bad.
tell us about that last Missouri game. Because I mean, that's memorable for a million different reasons. But
Oh
like,
yeah,
what is your point of view of that game? Just the magnitude of it. I mean, one of the biggest games in Allen Fieldhouse ever.
yeah. So one of the craziest things is I committed to Mizzou when I was 16 years old. So I went there on a visit to like the Mizzou elite camp, and Mike Anderson had given me a scholarship, verbal committed to him when I was 16. So I thought I was going to Mizzou. My senior year, they came up to about 6 or 7 games, and I played in California, so they flew out to come scout me at the games and stuff. And then at the end of my senior year, they decided not to go through with the scholarship. So I was kind of heartbroken on that. But then a couple of years later, I come get to Kansas and we get to play them. So, I held that game really high on my list. It was circled on my calendar uh, when I found out that they were in the same conference, and I was super excited to play. And that game, it was strange because in the field house we were down 19 and get in the locker room, and it wasn't. It was like we were winning the whole time. Just the vibe. It was like, oh, we're not going to lose this game. Like, and I don't think anybody hung their head even being down 19. And then, we start chip away. I get a big dunk with like 8 to 10 minutes left, and then we start that run, and the atmosphere was crazy. I remember standing literally right next to Tyshawn, and he's talking and I'm talking, and we can't hear each other at all, and we just start laughing, and that's what all those practices are for, and everything we worked so hard to do is to be in that moment. So it was pretty amazing for us.
What do you remember about the block? What was your vantage point?
Oh, I was on the bench at the time, but I was super hyped, man. I mean, I think that was, we're in the field house. He tries to drive on Thomas Robinson, and Thomas gets a good block, so it was pretty amazing.
All right, Kevin, we got a couple more for you about Coach Self, and then we'll get into Kansas State just a little bit. We want to ask, what is something that Coach Self does really well that you don't think he gets enough credit for?
Um, bringing out the best of guys, like me as a transfer student, I didn't, I didn't really see myself ever come to Kansas, honestly, just because I was a Cali kid and I was at Loyola, and then I get the opportunity to come out here, and, you know, uh, his just mindset about basketball changing the way I thought about it. I'm thinking, hey, this is come out here and get the opportunity to play, but then it's more like, hey, what are you going to give to the team? Like, how are you gonna make us better? Like, why should I play you if you don't make us better? So, giving us the opportunity to actually earn his trust instead of coming out there thinking we deserve to play. I think he does a really good job at that. Also, he in practice we're constantly competing. Like you see constant lineup changes throughout the season because guys are beating guys out for positions, or they're playing better at the time. I think he does a good job of putting guys in at the right time as well too.
You mentioned it. You mentioned practice. What is your best Bill Self practice story? We got to hear it.
Oh man, there's so many. One of them, one of my favorite ones is I always used to rebound the ball with one hand, and I I remember one day they bring out a treadmill. I'm like, a treadmill? Like, what's that gonna do? I ran cross country in high school, so I was not worried at it at all. Like, oh, I'm a run. They put the treadmill on full speed and put the incline all the way up, and like you can hear it through the practice gym. Like you could hear it. So I'm like, all right, that's a little intimidating, but whatever. So I'm thinking nothing of it. I go and going up against T Rob, who's easily like 40 more pounds than me. And I'm trying to grab the rebound. And I grab it with one hand, and coach stops practice, like, Young, go get on the treadmill. I was like, huh? Like, I just got the rebound, coach. What do you mean? He's like, how many hands you use? I was like, one. He's like, yeah, told you to grab it with two hands. Go ahead, hit the treadmill. So I get on the treadmill, and I'm pretty sure a couple of people fell off that thing a couple of times because I almost did. And then I get back out there and just it's his way of making me better, because in games grabbing the ball with two hands means a lot, like it's the decision between getting an offensive rebound, getting your team another possession, or a defensive rebound that'll help your team win the game. And I get back out there against T-Rob, and he's like holding my arm, and I like tip it in. I tip it in with one hand, and we get the bucket, so I'm getting ready to run down, play some defense. He's like, nope, stop. How many hands? So that's just like an example of how he helped me grab rebounds with two hands, but it's kind of funny also as a punishment, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm coaching now, Kevin, and I
Okay.
think that's the thing I scream about the most is grab the ball with two hands. Because I got school girls right now. Like it is a focus, two hands, two hands, two hands. But I also like I tell them stories about you, like transfer that comes in, but is always energy, always doing the right things, never doing too much. Like talk about that when you came into Kansas, like finding your role. Okay, this is what I'm good at, and this is what Coach Self needs. This is how I can stay on the floor, A, and then B, this is how I can actually contribute in a big time way.
I mean, nowadays you don't really see it a lot because a lot of guys want to score, a lot of guys want to try to be the man all the time. But if you look at the NBA now, or even as transfer students, like it's very slim chance that you're going to be the go-to guy on any team or the main scorer on any team. And I scored 700 points at Loyola in 2 years, so it wasn't like I didn't know how to score the basketball. It was just, hey, what's gonna help my team win the most? I'm here now. Back then, I couldn't transfer again, so I might as well do the best I can with what I can do. And we had Thomas, who was very dominant inside, and we had Jeff, who's 7 footer. So playing with those guys, it made it a lot easier for me to find my role, to identify what my role was, and then once I found it, I loved rebounding. So, I just took it on myself to be like, hey, might as well be Dennis Rodman, might as well go out there and try to grab every rebound you can. I had a coach at Loyola, Max Good, who said rebounding is probably the only thing you could be selfish with in basketball. You can't be selfish with assists because then you take away your points. You can't be selfish with points because then nobody else really gets to score if you're double team. But rebounds, you can at least try to go get everyone. You know, and so I kind of took that on my shoulders while I was there. And extra possessions mean a lot in games. So if I can dive on a loose ball or take a charge, or get an extra steal or get in the passing lane, just frustrate the other team, I think it helped my team win the games. So.
He's not lying, by the way, everybody. 8 boards a game, senior year. He got every single rebound. You had last game against K-State in the field house. I remember you had a pretty solid game, I think. What is your best like K-State story? And it doesn't have to be about a game, but like something that someone said to you on campus going into a K-State game, just the general rivalry. What's like your whole take
Oh,
on?
man, I love K-State. I tell a lot of K-State fans that I love K-State. It's one of my favorite schools just because it was 5 easy wins for us. You know, so I
Never
actually had a
lost.
chance. I actually had a chance to go down Aggieville down there and party with those guys a little bit. And I had a bartender come up to me one time, and he was kind of mad, and he threw some shots in front of me, and he's like, "Hey, like my dad told me to buy you these shots because you're his favorite player." And I'm glad that that they weren't too sour about it. But it's always fun. At the end of the day, it is a game, and if we can make fans out of anybody and show people how much joy we have playing it, and and just make somebody else's day a little brighter by smiling all the time or playing hard, and I think we did a good job at it.
What are just your thoughts on this game tomorrow? Kansas State rolling into town, not having the greatest year. Kansas State, maybe a score prediction for us, Kevin. What are you just thinking?
I don't really got a score prediction, but I mean these guys just got to play hard, and we're coming off a loss, so it is a big game. And like I said earlier, we're Kansas, and we always have a target on our back, so we're going to get everybody's best game. So anything can happen. Yeah, but I think if we play hard and play solid, limit our turnovers, and move the ball around, I think we'll be fine.
All right, Kevin. That's all we have for you, man. We really
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
you for coming on, and perhaps we'll have you again sometime, maybe for this March Madness run that the Jayhawks are
Oh
about
yeah,
to go on.
yeah, definitely. Just let me know.
Sounds
Do
good,
it.
man. Thank you.